Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Happy Monday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This is your advanced look at Moon Knight by Jed Mackay Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on October 8th or 9th, depending on where you get your books. Now, what we're looking at here is the standard edition cover. This is the one that's going to be available everywhere. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover. Now, the direct market cover is supplied by Arthur Adams, while the standard edition cover, that one is supplied by Greg Capullo. And as I said, the standard edition cover is available everywhere, whereas the direct market cover is only going to be available at places like your local comic book store, cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, bdcosmos.com, comicsbugle.com, readcomics.com, dimebreakcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, In-Stock Trades, Tales of Wonder, and DCBS. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. So yes, what we're looking at here is this. Oh, I love this piece. I had to do a double take because I was like, oh my gosh, I think my vision's getting blurry because the Moon Knight here has that glow that makes it look like it's blurry, but even Moon Knight himself has the glow, and he's on top of a moon. That's just an awesome piece. And how often has Greg Capullo done a cover for Marvel Omnis? So, Marvel Omnibus, Moon Knight by Jed Mackay. And that wonderful piece right there. And then the back piece. His mission is justice. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And that piece right there is by Alessandro Cappuccio. And a little bit about what's collected in here. And then what the stories are about. And right there is the ISBN. The book retails for $100. And actually, before I take it off the dust jacket, where does this go into the reading order of Moon Knight? Well, it goes right after this book right here. Now, there is enough material between the Charlie Houston run and this book for one more omnibus, but we still don't have that yet. But as of this video, this is the most modern run of Moon Knight collected in omnibus format. Moon Knight, my gosh, has been shown so much love in omnibus format. I love it. This has been collected before. So here, let's look at the spine of the book. And it has been collected in a series of 5 trade paperbacks. So the stories collected in here are found in this omnibus. And here's the spine again. That piece by Cappuccio down there. And this piece by Cappuccio that we looked at earlier. Now, let's look underneath the dust jacket and what's in the dust jacket here. Out of the Shadow of Khonshu, and then a little bio on the creators over here, like Jed Mackay, Alessandro Cappuccio, and Federico Sabatini. And the art on board is this amazing piece by Alessandro Cappuccio. All right, we are going to crack this omnibus open, talk about the stories in this book, and show off the artwork, and then look at the extras, and of course, the build of the omnibus. Okay, let's go ahead and crack this omnibus open. You have your black end sheets right here, your title page with this piece by Alessandra Cappuccio and Jed Mackay, and your credits. So you have Jed Mackay writing the stories in here. Most of this drawn by Alessandro Cappuccio and Federico Sabatini, but Rochelle Rosenberg really bringing it in with the colors, bringing everything together. There are other artists through here. There's a couple of other writers that help out as well. And you also have Corey Petit and Travis Lanham as your letters. And each of the covers is framed like this with the moon and the title of the issue, what this particular chapter is called. So this book collects Moon Knight 1 through 30, the 2021 series, Devil's Reign Moon Knight, and Moon Knight Annual Number 1, and then material from Moon Knight Annual Number 1 from 2023. So 2022 in full, material from 2023, and then Avengers 45, which is really just one page of Avengers. So I do want to talk about just how badass these covers by Steve McNiven are. I absolutely love them. Oh, by the way, the book has 848 pages and retails for $100. I love the first 6 covers because they are done by McNiven. I wish he had drawn the internal artwork when I was reading this in trade paperback. But let me tell you something. Cappuccio's artwork and Sabatini's artwork, oh my gosh, it really fits the tone of the book. It is perfect for this story. And of course, Rochelle Rosenberg's art. So what's happening here is we're seeing Mr. Knight here talking to somebody. And then we go back and forth between this particular story where a bunch of vampires are showing up in the city. And of course, Moon Knight is going to stop them. You know, he's been around. He was a part of the Avengers. As a matter of fact, this really does take place in the aftermath. Like, it focuses on the aftermath of the Age of Khonshu in Jason Aaron's Avengers. So, because during this run, the role of Khonshu is about protecting the Night Travelers. So much so that he opens up a midnight mission. And you find out that who Mr. Knight is talking to is this young lady right here. And whenever I did an overview of like volume 1 of the trade paperback, and I know the Astonishing Melanie did a review of the book, but for people like me, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Dr. Andrea Sturman. She's from the Nomad series from the 90s. But she also is working here as a therapist and kind of helping the character of Mr. Knight, Moon Knight, Mark Spector, you know, talk through his problems. Because by now, we have already established the fact that he has had issues in the past. And a lot of those issues are due to his dissociative identity disorder, which is where Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant came from. But I love the way that this is written because it does feel like it's something for somebody new that had just maybe watched the Disney Plus series or has always wondered about this guy that's dressed like this in a Marvel comic. You know, I think one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to the character of Moon Knight that I always hear is that white Batman? No, he's so much more complex. Well, I'm not going to say Batman's not complex, but this character is so much more complex than just a white Batman. He's fighting clones of vermin right here. So again, the stories jump back and forth. He meets one particular new character that will play a big role through here. As a matter of fact, the most established characters, or the characters that will be playing a big part in this book, really are introduced in the first issue. Like, you get Reese, who's this vampire that is seeking shelter. You get this character, Dr. Badar, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who's trying to help him out right here. And this whole sequence is 8-Ball, like, begging for his life, making sure that nobody hurts him or kills him. And Dr. Badar, you know, the way that he treats him, he's a little bit different. Like, he knows something about the character of Moon Knight. And I always found it interesting that it's actually Hunter's Moon talking about his problems to Dr. Sturman, not Mark Spector, not Jake Lockley, and not Stephen Grant. So if you've stayed away from the character because you know about the different personalities, and that's all you know, this really minimizes the use of that. It is talked about because you have to talk about it, especially with a character that has been continuing an ongoing series for so long. So you do find out that Dr. Badar is somebody else, and who he is. And by the way, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this because there's no way I can't talk about the rest of the book without mentioning this part, is Hunter's Moon. In Hunter's Moon, it is revealed that I love the way this is put too. If man can have 2 fists, why can't a god? So it makes perfect sense. So Moon Knight is not the only fist of Khonshu. Turns out that Hunter's Moon is the other fist. We're introduced to this other character named Soldier. I know people are like, oh, what a lame name. But he actually becomes a big part of the Midnight Mission. So the Midnight Mission, their role is to take people in that need shelter, that need help. Like, we are early on introduced to the character of Terry, who's running away and needing shelter. And that's what they do. Now, of course, Hunter's Moon and Moon Knight have it out, and eventually you find out that they kind of treat each other like brothers, and they become a huge part in each other's life. And that's something that I just absolutely love about this story. And one thing does lead into another. You get to see characters here from the Marvel Universe, if you're familiar with the extended universe, like Tigra, like Pam comes, like, it's like almost like a reunion of the Avengers West Coast, or West Coast Avengers, where she comes in. Now, she is sent here for a reason, and you can find out for yourself what that reason is, but at first, you know, she's there for the character of Mark Spector. So he's got someone to lean on. And there's a lot of mystery that happens through here, a lot of twists and turns. Betrayal, the first story arc that is about 12 issues long, is about the character known as the Zodiac, and what he is able to do with these particular characters, who he's really working for, or is he really just insane, and what kind of threat he poses to the character of Moon Knight. Now, the way the book is mapped is absolutely perfect, because after, I believe this is issue number 8, because during this particular issue, during this issue, we get the tie-in to Devil's Reign, where you don't really see it here, but they do talk about it a little bit, where Moon Knight is arrested because of the whole Devil's Reign event. And if you want to know what that is, go and watch that video. But it is a big Daredevil event that features street-level characters. But Moon Knight, Mark Spector, is arrested. So here he is with 8-Ball, and both of them having to kind of survive in prison together. And even though it's like a Devil's Reign tie-in story, it's more of a Moon Knight story, to be honest with you. And I do love that cover right there. And it's such an awesome story. And this is the type of artwork you're going to be seeing through here. Now, I get it. You know, this isn't for everybody. It's got this anime flair to it. And maybe you like your Moon Knight a little more realistic. Maybe like Tex or Bill Sienkiewicz or even David Finch. I say realistic, and, well, anyway, this is a little bit different, but man, does it grow on you, and it is so good, and it's the dialogue, it's the way the lines are delivered. Like, Jed Mackay really understands the character of Moon Knight, and who he is, and what he represents, and all these different threats that come for the Midnight Mission, and the Zodiac is just part of the first story arc, right? Like, that is something that happens at the very beginning. Later on, you get some new nemesis through here that appear, you know, to be one of these rivals to the character of Moon Knight. What are they? Grand Mal and Namin, for example. But he's not alone. And I love the fact that he's not alone, because it reminded me of that era of Moon Knight that I enjoyed, because it was basically my childhood, which is the Mark Spector Moon Knight era, when he did have a network of people. And what's really cool about this story is that Jed Mackay doesn't forget about that. He knows about the network of people, and he brings them in. So if you're a fan of that 90s series, they are brought in. Now, they're brought in a little bit different, because somebody is going after the network, the old network, and killing them one by one. And he wants to know why they're punishing those characters. What's going on? I love this throwback here, because it makes sense, right? When you have the character of somebody like Moon Knight and Blade to actually use the summer of 1977. So it's a flashback to that particular Fist of Khonshu with Blade, and then how Blade plays a part in this. And then, of course, Reese being a vampire, and herself having a lot of character development, you know, going through all these different changes. Tigra having a lot of growth through here. There's a team up here with the new Venom. This is the annual, which is part of the ongoing storyline that's the Contest of Chaos. And it explains a little bit about what's going on here, where Agatha Harkness ended up taking a little part of the Elder God, Thalon, and what it's doing to the different characters in the Marvel Universe. I think this is one of my favorite issues, which is the reunion of Jack Russell with Mark Spector. So Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night, and how there's evil werewolves, so Moon Knight has to help Jack fight off these evil werewolves. And then we go back to the main story. Again, properly put where it belongs. 25th issue is a huge issue. Like, it must have been triple size, just where it's leading, and where we get the return of a character. And I don't want to spoil who or what this could be, but like I said, if you've read a lot of the things, like, you know, I mentioned the Shadow Cabinet, but there is the character of Black Spectre. And Black Spectre will play a big part throughout the book. There are mentions of characters like the Bushman through here as well, and then things from the past. So if you're a fan of Moon Knight, there are things from the past. But even if you haven't read Moon Knight, a lot of this, reading it for the first time, will make sense. It's just written that good. And it takes a great writer to do that, to make you care about not just Moon Knight himself, but all the other characters, even a character named Soldier and a vampire named Reese. That's what makes this work. And one of the things that I love about the artwork is that it is easy to follow, like the sequential art, the fighting that goes on through here. It's really easy to follow, and man, does it get messy and bloody. Does it get dark and gritty? I love this book, and honestly, I forgot to look at this. It's Teen Plus. There's some moments in here that I was like, oh, that's a little violent, but I'm all here for that, man. And Hunter's Moon is such a freaking badass character. I love that character. I can't imagine a Moon Knight book without him nowadays. There are other characters that appear from Moon Knight's past, as I've mentioned, and one of them comes back in a different light. I like what they do with one particular character, because that's the thing that Jed Mackay does. He kind of leads you on a path to try to figure out who this one character is, and then completely takes you on a different road. Mark, one of the things you'll notice through here, and I'll stop looking back there because it's only 30 issues, and it leads into Vengeance of Moon Knight. Mark wears his mask a lot. You're going to be seeing that a lot through here. You're going to see a lot more of Mark as Mr. Knight and as Moon Knight. And there is a reason for that, and he explains why he wears the mask all the time. And the characters of Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant are also explained through here, like what's going on with those particular characters. And I think that's all I will really say about this story, because I want people to genuinely enjoy it. It was one of my favorite modern runs that was happening. It's still happening, like right now. It's still ongoing as Vengeance of Moon Knight. And that has a twist too, because this can be read as an all-in-one, like it does have an ending, but you can see, and you will want to see where it goes from here. Now, one of the other characters that I'm sure people want to know if he appears through here is old Jean-Paul Deschamps. Frenchie. Maybe. That's all I will say. All right, let's look at the extras. So you do have an afterwards of Moon Knight number 30. And then you'll see a lot, and I mean a lot, of variant covers here, including the one that they're using for the direct market cover by Arthur Adams there, and some other artists that have actually drawn Moon Knight at one time or another. Like you saw David Finch and Bill Sienkiewicz there. Kyle Holtz and Bill Sienkiewicz again. There's some really killer artwork through here. You know, Moon Knight, to me, before I followed his adventures, when I was a kid, I always thought his costume was awesome. And I was one of those guys that was, oh, it's beautiful. I was one of those guys that was like, oh, well, yeah, Moon Knight's like a white Batman. Because I hadn't really read anything outside of sometimes the crossovers that he would have with characters. But no, characters are really complicated. Some of them, not a lot of them, are in this thumbnail size right here. Man, there's a lot of covers for Moon Knight. Didn't realize just how many there were. And then this is the last page, which is from Avengers 45, that sets up the whole Midnight mission and what is to come from Moon Knight and Jed Mackay's run on Moon Knight. Now let's look at the binding. The book has 848 pages. It is sewn binding, and this particular book is printed at the Mega Print in Turkey, and it is printed in this thick glossy paper stock. And as far as the bleed through, I mean, it's hard to point out the bleed through on a book like this that has a lot of stories taking place in the dark. I love this image right here. Man, that's so awesome. But there is hardly any bleed through, honestly. The paper stock they use here is a thick, glossy paper stock. But let me see, making sure there was no spoilers. Very, very minimal bleed through happening in the whites right here from the opposite side. And as far as the way the book lays over, look no further than the image from issue number 2, which is also the image they used the art on board. So you do have just a little bit of gutter loss, and I mean very minimal gutter loss. Oh, and I forgot to mention that, yeah, sometimes the variant covers are on the opposite side of the standard edition covers. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, and if you are picking it up, which cover you're going to get, if you already have the trade paperbacks, if you bought it in single issues, and you're hoping they'll collect the Vengeance of Moon Knight series, and then what other Moon Knight books you would love to see collected in omnibus format. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.